All right. 3, 2, and 1. Well, hello, everyone. It's Connie Pheiff here. Hang on, guys. I am just getting a really horrible echo here.
I heard that.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, that one I heard.
All right. Give me 1 second here.
I'm not sure if I'm supposed to stay super quiet or what.
She's offline trying to figure out probably her connections, Dave. Let's get that little feedback. I can promise you at some point during this, I'm going to ask you about a particular thing that's on your about on LinkedIn, because I find that I've never seen or heard the 2 words put together before, and I'm incredibly curious what it really means. And I'm not going to tell you which one it is.
I have no idea, so I'm bringing it on. Yeah. I actually do better just talking, so I'm happy to.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt. If I don't know if you did any research on me, but aside from the fact that yes, I am a longtime television actor and also a former stand-up, I did grow up playing high-level sports. I was a double psychology teacher, didn't get my degree. Grew up with a single parent who wasn't around much, but also owned a business for 23 years. So a lot of my what we would call intellect would just come from vocational part of life. But as acting is a human behavior profession, certainly as a speaker, it has become, and I'm a consultant to these crazy people known as actors. What your entire career and your success have been based on is extraordinarily intriguing to me. So I don't want the fact that I'm a television actor to belie anything about respect or depth I have for what you've done with regards to human behavior.
Kevin, that's kind of you. No need to go there in that your presence speaks for itself. We can bring value to this world through humor and sometimes much more value. We can create a message that way. It doesn't have to be heavy all the time.
True.
The intent and purpose is really what makes a difference.
Intent is one of my favorite 3 words, so we're good.
What are the other 2?
Audience and environment.
Well, in my world, I would call the audience your connections or your relationships, and your environment is all powerful in life.
Yeah.
I believe in that. We teach 9 environments.
Yeah. It's not given to do the.
I am here. I don't know what's going on, so I could still hear it a bit. I changed some of the buttons.
Would it help if we logged out and logged back in, or no?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I pretended like I knew what I was doing on the mixer, so let's see if it worked. Okay, I don't hear it as much now.
That was the extent of my technical advice: is log in and log out.
Off, on, off, on.
I'm actually hearing it, Kevin, from you.
You're hearing it from me.
Yes.
How about now?
Yeah.
Okay, talk to Dave for a second. Let me change my headphone. Hang on.
Okay, I was gonna say have you pop out.
You guys, I'm getting no feedback from either one of you, Connie.
Okay, yeah, because even when I was listening to you talking, it was actually coming from
You've gone very quiet, though.
Did I go quiet?
Yeah, you're very hard to hear.
How
You've
about
got
now?
An 8 volume to about a 2.
Okay, how about now?
Way better.
Okay, because that's what I had turned down.
How's that, Connie?
Let's see. Okay, good. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1.
Everybody, check. Sound check. Here we go.
I think we're a go.
Yeah,
I'm good.
All good.
Okay.
Rock on.
All right. So, okay, guys, let's go with. I'm gonna do that one more time. Shit, I forgot to take it off pause. Okay, Take 25. 3, 2, 1. Well, hello, and you're listening to the Connie Pheiff Show. I'm Connie Pheiff, your unstoppable diva, and thanks for listening, and thanks for sharing, and thanks for being here on the Connie Pheiff Show. We have so many loyal listeners who come back over and over again, and really the reason everyone comes is to turn their success, their fame, into a thriving business, and you can continue to do the same thing because we are a streaming radio show for lifestyle entrepreneurs. Hey, Kevin, I am so sorry, guys. Did I put you on mute?
Is that? Do you feel that that's me?
There's like a lot of banging, like people dropping things.
Yeah, it's very strange because it's not. There's nothing in my house. Nothing's going on. I mean, nothing. Now it's gone.
Now it's gone.
Now it's gone. I'm telling you, I have no answer for you, but that's not coming. You know, you and I have never experienced this before. I mean, I'll try my big headphones, but I'll give it a shot. Hang on.
Yeah, but the headphones wouldn't. It sounded like somebody was banging things and throwing things. Did you hear it, Dave?
No, I heard nothing, and it's. I'm not hearing. I'm just hearing your voice. I'm like, yeah, you're rocking it, and then so I don't know what's in your tea over there. The two of you are drinking funny tea.
Yeah, Kevin, I'm sorry. Like that noise was just like I said, like bookshelves.
No, Connie, I'm not disagreeing with you, but
Okay.
Unfortunately, there's just nothing going on in my house, so I have no idea what to say. So
yeah, it's silent here.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, Dave, you sound great.
He does.
So there you go. I can't change. These headphones are professional, so I can't change.
Jeez, now we got to pick up the game to a professional level.
Okay, yeah, professional level. Kevin, I do have you on mute right now. I'm only testing. So test. All right. Okay, test. 1 2 1 2. Okay, we will get this show going. There must be ghost in the line.
Wow.
All right, we'll go with it unless it gets really. Now it just happened again.
I don't know what to say.
Put me on mute. Is it me?
Let's try. Let's try, Dave.
Because I can put some.
All right, Dave, I have you on mute right now. Okay, nothing. Dave, do you have a pair of headphones or earbuds? Yeah, why don't you pop those in? Nothing. Kevin, I hear nothing now.
No, I wouldn't imagine that you do. I don't know how you would. I'm in a really enclosed environment here.
Okay. But that last one was just weird. Like I said,
I'm not arguing.
Like
I heard,
a big bookshelf or something.
Yeah,
okay, Dave, I put you back on. Okay, he's checking something.
Can you hear me just fine?
I can hear you. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I've now gone full professional mic and the whole nine. I feel like I'm doing radio. Alrighty, KPFK, ladies and gentlemen, morning traffic drive. Here we go. Everybody look out for that panda bear that fell out of the back of the pickup truck on I-405 right near Westwood. I think it was wearing a UCLA Bruins shirt. Yeah, I mean, that's what I feel like now.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I think he's fine.
I don't hear him now. You're unmuted. I unmuted you on my end. Check your mute button.
Who, me?
No, Dave. Don't hear him now. Now he froze. There you, he's back. Dave? I think it was Dave. We lost him.
I think he's going to relaunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm full radio DJ now. I mean,
You're set.
it's unbelievable. It's just, I didn't know I was going to go to this level this morning today. Damn.
I think he's back. Yeah.
You know, you have the recording button on, right?
Record is
Yes,
on. Okay. Ready. 3, 2, 1. Well, hello, and you're listening to the Connie Pheiff Show. I'm Connie Pheiff, your unstoppable diva. Thanks for being here. Thanks for continuing to share the show. It's because of loyal listeners just like you who come back over and over and over again and continue sharing. That just shows that sharing is caring, and we so truly enjoy to have you here every single week. Now, this week we have a special guest. We have a co-host. So sitting in the co-host chair with me today is the Hollywood redneck, Kevin E. West. You know him from many television shows like Criminal Mind. He's an actor, he's an athlete, he's an author, he's a motivational speaker, and he's been a television celebrity for over 30 years.
Oh.
Okay, he's only been doing it for a couple of years, making his way from the back roads of Nashville all the way to Hollywood. He shares his message about really the crucial importance of communication skills around the globe. And I have the privilege of working with Kevin E. West through our agency Talent Concierge. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Connie. That's okay. I'll survive the 30 years. That's it's okay.
Did I give away too much?
At least I still have some hair. No, it's my absolute pleasure today, and I'm looking extremely forward to co-hosting with you for Mr. Kenney for sure. Look forward to it.
Thank you for being here. And our guest, he is the executive director, and he's also co-founder at Emergo Recovery. And that is Mr. Dave Kenney. Welcome to the Connie Pheiff Show.
Connie, it's a great honor to be here with you and with Kevin. And I understand we may have some serious stuff and a little bit of fun today. So I'm really looking forward to sharing some ideas and concepts and learning from everybody and just having some fun today.
Well, Dave, if you came expecting a serious podcast about business, that is not who we are. Let's just throw that right out there, right from the start. You never know what comes out of some people's mouths, especially Mr. Kevin E. West. He's a former comedian, plus acting and plus a motivational speaker. Throw that all together and you're always in for a bumpy ride. But real serious, just for a second, the work that you do, actualize recovery. Well, let's just start right off by explaining to our listening audience, what exactly is that?
Well, first of all, that's a big one. And I wasn't expecting anything serious. I want to get there. I'm going to put my seatbelt on. We're going to go for a little bit of a roller coaster ride. And I don't know about Kevin being a former comic. I've heard him a few minutes ago, and I think he's still got it game. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, he's got game for sure. That has not left anywhere.
oh boy.
So actualized recovery, I'm going to go back even about a decade ago. I'm an educator by trade, master's of education, and I just saw some good kids struggling in life and addiction-related things, learning challenges, classroom stuff. And I don't believe anybody, any age, wakes up in the morning, expects to fail, wants to fail. And yet there's some learned patterns that happen. And so I fundamentally went, why can't we change a brain? I don't want to motivate and inspire, educate, coach, lead people, but ultimately the brain controls everything. And that started this journey that I've been on for a decade now of neuroscience. My PhD now is in neuroscience and psychology, bringing some two great fields together. And through the last decade of all the research and all the work of nearly 1,000 clients we've worked with, actualized recovery has come to form. And actualized recovery is a brain-first approach to recovery and wellness, but I'll go even further. It's a brain-first approach to succeeding in life, to achieving the goals, the relationship, the finances, the health that we want, but it has to start with a brain first perspective.
Okay. I'm going to kick this one over to Kevin because I know he's going to have something to say about this. Because Kevin, you were a psychology major.
I was. I mean, unfortunately, for a various number of reasons, I didn't wind up finishing with that and getting the piece of paper on the wall. But, you know, as we've talked, Connie, the kind of the bridge to that, based on the fact that, you know, being a performer in front of a camera is a behavior-based business.
Mm-hmm.
We certainly work as actors from our internal emotions, but as Dave would certainly say, how those things get triggered. Basically, the key and the gas to your fuel tank as a person comes from your mind. It comes from your brain. And you start getting into, you know, wiring in childhood. And I actually took a lot of my courses in child psychology. And I'm just really curious, Dave, how without going, you know, too subterranean, how brain first approach from your end functions of how you get into a kid who maybe isn't on the spectrum and someone who doesn't have some sort of developmental birth issue. How do you get into trying to get someone from a brain first approach to either want to succeed or view self-education differently?
I think it applies to everybody. And whether it's an executive, a mom, a dad, a teenager, an actor, go down the list. Everybody talks about stress. Everybody talks about sleep. We've all been educated. We all went to school and learned about our bodies and nutrition and exercise. No one's ever taught us about what foods are good for our brain. In other words, if we've got this super engine in our brain, in our heads, what foods fuel that for optimum performance, and what things may hurt that? Well, we've learned that in neuroscience. We also, in the last 15 years, have learned something called neuroplasticity. The world's starting to hear this more and more. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to rewire, restructure itself. That's a massive thing. So how we are today does not necessarily mean that's how we're going to be in 6 months or a year. We have the ability to change that. Much like if we go to the gym on a regular basis and do the right things, we can change our bodies. So neuroplasticity is a really important tool here. And then there's neurogenesis, the brain's ability to grow new cells. Well, our skin can do it, our organs can do it, including our brain. And so we can create some new neural pathways and help that brain rewire, doing some pretty simple things. And then we can also hurt it. So even in your business, I would think being sharp as a comic and an actor is one of the gifts of your trade.
Sure, it would be without question. I mean, a large part of what happens in my profession has a lot to do with memory. Funny enough, you'll hear actors talk about they just weren't born with the gift of memory. I was, whether it's a gift or not, or whether it's a learning skill, I memorize quickly. A lot of actors I know don't. It makes it very difficult. I'm sure part of what you're discussing, there's ways to maybe improve on that, because I'm curious in terms of neuroplasticity or neurogenesis. I'm wondering how does orthomolecular restoration fit into that? Because that was the phrase in your background, in your training, that I looked at those two words and I was like, okay, I'm not a young person and I've never heard anyone ever, and I've known some really bright people, clearly not myself, so never heard orthomolecular restoration. I got to know what that is.
In short, it's large doses of vitamins, minerals, or amino acids taken by IV. And so it's IV therapy. In orthomolecular medicine or restoration, it's been around and it's been tested, scientifically tested, and shown to have tremendous positive impact on people, whether that's on behavior, whether that's on brain, whether that's on, even healing from an organ point of view. And because it's an IV, we don't lose nutrition through lack of absorption in the gut. And so it goes right into our system. And if you go to I work with a great naturopathic doctor who's able to tailor that. So if you go to somebody that is very versed in this, they'll be able to tailor that. So what I'm talking about is a supplement at home is maybe like a small teaspoon or a quarter teaspoon. And what we're talking about is dumping a wheelbarrow full of vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. And it's really essential, even minerals. the soil that our food is grown in. So even if you're eating good whole foods, the soil is not the way it was 100 years ago. And
Right.
so it is really important to augment that. And it really helps with also with brain function.
Kevin, I was impressed that you could even say it. I was like,
Oh, girlfriend, I'm not a doctor or a lawyer, but I played them on television. You have to say all of that crap, but you have to say it with meaning, like you somehow know what it really actually means.
Right, you sounded like
and we don't.
knew exactly what it was meaning. Yeah, I'm very familiar with it, and I still couldn't say the words. But so Dave, we should be calling you Dr. Dave.
Well, hopefully in about another 18 months we can go there, but right now, no.
Okay.
So it's coming.
It's coming, right? So, question I have, my curiosity is you talk about reconstruction of the brain, and then I was looking at some of your work, and you talk about millennials and the failure to launch. So, where is that correlation? I mean, where can people, really say, okay, that they have made that shift, where some people still struggle to make that shift happen, and especially with teens?
Well, let me go to Abraham Maslow and his teaching, basic teachings in psychology, the pyramid and the 5 levels there, and ultimately self-actualization, which is, where what one can be, one must. And
Kevin's over here dropping his toys.
It sounds like Kevin's bored, so I'll be real quick, Kevin. I don't mean to bore you here, but
no, I had a wardrobe malfunction. It's okay.
Kevin, I'm really sorry, but like that picture just doesn't look.
I know the wardrobe malfunction. Sorry, I apologize.
We just went from G to an R really fast.
Oh. Yep, she did. See, I wasn't even going to touch it, Dave, but that's where she went.
When I'm working with him, it's hard. Okay, back to Dave. So
yes, back to what Dave's doing. Yes.
I have no idea. It's great. So
we're talking about millennials doing their shit. Like, get it on. Like,
and here's where they get stuck. They get stuck because their brain can be paralyzed in a parasympathetic dominant state, or it can be in a state of fight or flight, a sympathetic state.
Right.
What we've got to do is physiologically, which is Maslow's thing, the bottom tier. The first thing before we start talking about anything deeper about who we are, is we have to physiologically help the body, and in this case, the brain. And we now know that we can map the brain, we can see where some issues and challenges are, and we can do help the brain correct itself. And we can use this in very natural, non-invasive approaches and tools, and that's what we do here. And so we've got a whole integrative system to help people with that. But it's not just the brain. There is an integrative solution. Kevin, you already talked about it. That we can have learned helplessness involved. There can be a lot of issues about relationships that can hold people back. Parenting challenges, are we playing rescuer and they're playing victim and why? So there's a lot of complexities to that, but ultimately it is about helping a young adult move from a dependent state to an independent state. And an independent state is a state of freedom. And that is where one can start working towards being self-actualized, not being dependent on a family or even on a government.
Okay, because we're seeing that happening. I read something recently where the percentage, and they talked about millennials, the depression percentage of millennials is huge, and saying that just in a short time they're going to be looking to be very dependent, whether it be on their family or on the government or something else. So that prevalence of depression and anxiety. I mean, how can we break through that? What are the causes? I mean, I know even with Kevin, we could probably go down a list of what is the cause of all of this depression that's happening. But
well, what I'm really curious about, Connie and Dave, is we have a conversation that gets bifurcated between discussing, like you said, the nutrients and how our food is grown and what we take in now, Dave. But I've also been somebody who has spent a lot of time conversing and looking into naturism versus nurturism. And so I'm very curious from the standpoint of putting in nutrients, amino acids, and then breaking it down to how transcendent is that in terms of restructuring, neuroplasticity, and whether or not we're now talking more about someone's ability through that process to be better at, hypothetical or critical thinking, or is it something where they comprehend better, or they simply take in parenting in a different way? Because to me, those things are a Grand Canyon, yet they're obviously inextricably tied. So I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, we could talk about that for 2 days.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Dave. I apologize.
No, I hope you have a long tape or a big memory on this. But no, first of all, Marion Diamond, Dr. Marion Diamond in the 60s, I think she's the #1 or #2 watched professor of all time on YouTube. She's an incredible woman, a neuroscientist. And what she discovered in the 60s, her work was thrown out because she was a woman in the 60s, to be frank. And it was dismissed and laughed at. And it turned out, maybe 20 years ago, people went, oh my God, she was right. And that is, a brain can change. So she took rats in an impoverished environment with no love, no family, no connection. And their brains actually shrank. And so then she took rats and put them in an enriched environment. Food was the same, so that variable was out. But what they had was tunnels and toys and ramps and their friends. And then one of the other things they did is they picked them up and held them and loved them. And she believed that one of the 5 things, actually, Kevin, was love. And it helps us as humans, a connection. But now you got to be careful about what that connection is and how do we define that. Because in parenting, you can go, oh my God, I want to do this for my child because I want the best. And yet by doing things for them, you're teaching them they're incapable. So struggle and challenge is actually also wonderful for the brain, as well as it creates a resilience that we need when we face adversity in the life, because mommy and daddy aren't always going to be around. But even when they're 25 years of age, mom and dad are still writing entrance exams for them. And then they're wondering why they're struggling. And so we have to be very careful about how we define this word parenting. And I believe ultimately a parent's role is to have loving boundaries to help that person become more independent in thought and in character and in act in their life. And ultimately, that's what makes us happier, not dependence, where I can't go out for a movie. I can't take my own trip. I can't buy my own car unless it's approved by somebody. Is not really a state of where I'm flourishing.
And I think that's a big conversation. We can go a very long time with having that type of conversation. And again, parents allowing their children to become dependent and, like you said, experience the adversities that, the challenges, and they may not always win the game, or they may not always get that perfect A, but parents need to be more loving and nurturing and get, like you said, fully understand that in order for that child to grow up, there's certain things that they do have to do on their own, but with the parents behind them, just guiding them a little bit so they need to go in the direction that they need to go.
Or the parents willing to understand that they may have to actually spend some of their time, and this is at least what I've seen a lot of in the last 15 or 20 years. As a parent, you may actually have to spend some of your time occasionally doing triage, because shit doesn't work out always. I mean, sometimes Billy breaks his arm, and it seems to me, and Dave, it's your field, but it just seems to me that not just the millennial, but also a lot of the parents of the millennials almost function as if they never want anything bad to happen ever. And part of what happens in life is the parent, the kid, or the young person, whether they're 5 or 15, they need to be able to fall down, but also the parents need to be there with the help up, not just the preventative. And that's where I'm curious about how something like orthomolecular restoration plays into neuroplasticity in the vein of, aside from just holding someone and telling them that you love them and we're going to fix your arm and it's going to be okay and you can go out and ride your bike again.
Yeah, but what you're talking about is a consequence, a natural consequence. And most parents right now are taking that and trying to remove that away. And consequence gets a bad rap. There's a consequence to a good thing. I go to the gym. I deal with my grandparents in a respectful manner. I eat well. I go to bed. I turn my phone off and go to bed. The consequences are I'm going to have more energy. I'm going to be more rested. And that's a good thing. It is a natural law. whether you take an action or whether you do not take an action, there is a consequence. And parents are stripping that away, and that's a learned lesson. And now when they're 23 and they've gotten a degree and they come back home, and now what? And they've missed a lot of this. So what happens though when Billy comes home and Sally comes home and she's failed or done poorly on an exam?
Mm-hmm.
Parents step into an action to triage that, or does the parent turn to Billy or Sally and hold them accountable and say, well, this is your deal to fix? And that's so where does parenting start and stop, and how do you help to teach young people to learn independence, to learn failure, to create resilience? And that sometimes is the toughest thing, because nobody gives us a parenting book. As a parent, that can be the toughest thing, and yet when you go to bed, I'm going to tell you, it could be the greatest gift you're teaching your son or daughter.
Yeah, there's no book. There's no playbook. I could say I had this horrible childhood. I know Kevin has said these things, but guess what? It taught me everything that I know today, to be independent, to be self-aware. And so I mean, it's a topic that I've also studied a lot into the neuroscience. Let's take a really quick break, and we'll come right back. I got all tongue tied now, and we'll come right back, and let's just continue this conversation a bit more, because I could see Kevin sitting there with something else he wants to add. Hang in there. We'll be right back. Okay, and we are back, and you're listening to the Connie Pheiff Show. Our unstoppable co-host today is the Hollywood redneck, Kenney West, and our guest is the executive director and co-founder at Emergo Recovery, Mr. Dave Kenney. So before the break, we were talking about parenting and the right parenting and not having a playbook. And Kevin, I could tell you had something to add there. So what did you want to?
Well, I just would like to get Dave's opinion on, with his, a lot of experience. When you discuss, depression and anxiety in today's culture, what I'm curious about is whether or not you feel like more of the anxiety in today's culture comes from literally having the lack of skills to do hypothetical or critical thinking, or because we've now raised a culture of such protected humans that they think everything should be a guarantee. Because neither of those is true, but I wonder what you feel is more what you face at your foundation for what you're trying to overcome. Someone who has a belief system that everything is supposed to just work out and be perfect, or I don't know enough to vet this and go do it without being scared to death. Which one do you think is more creates more anxiety?
Well, I hear a couple different questions. I want to answer it this way, though, Kevin, is that 10 years ago, probably 3 out of 10 of the people who came to us, and the young adults who came to us, even adults, had anxiety, depression. Now it's 9 out of 10. And it's depression, anxiety, depression. They go hand in hand. And the people that we work with, it's at severe levels. It's life debilitating levels. I can't go into a store. I can't go to school. I can't go to work. I can't get out of bed. And also the really dark thoughts that accompany depression that we know happens all too often to people, where they consider the world without them, and that's a terrible thing for even people to be in that dark place. So what we do know is brain drives behavior. All of us can agree with that. And when a brain is in an imbalanced, asymmetric state, it can create some feelings like anxiety, like depression, that can be very debilitating. And we can see when a brain is over-functioning, a brain is under-functioning, or a brain is in a great state of homeostasis and balance. The Amen Clinics, Dr. Daniel Amen does a lot of great work there. We're affiliated with them. We also do some work with Brain State Technologies out of Arizona. But what we're able to understand is when a brain is in a state of balance and harmony, I'm more resilient. I can handle things. I can get through it. And when my brain functions, can go into a state of sympathetic nervous system, is a state of fight or flight, or parasympathetic dominant, which is one's like the gas, one's like the brake. And when I'm emotionally frozen and my car brake is on, I don't care what you tell me I need to do. Go get up and go for a walk. Go to the gym. I am physically incapable because my brain is in a frozen state. So there are some things that we can do, lifestyle-wise, at home, nutrition-wise. The whole 30 is great. Be careful of sugars. Be careful of caffeines. Be careful of grains right now and dairies right now. And begin to do a whole gut reset. Your new famous word, orthomolecular restoration, may come into play. And so now you're beginning to get neuroplasticity at work, and hopefully working towards bringing that brain relief. And now we're feeling a little bit better. And yet some of your question is also about a learned helplessness. And when I've learned to be helpless, when I've learned that no matter how hard I study, I'm going to get a D, I'm going to just stop studying. That's learned helplessness. Why continue? So there's a little bit of both going on in your question.
So to that end, I don't want you, I'm not asking you to throw an entire part of the country under the bus, but when you look at sort of the hypochondria state that the country has been in and the pharmaceutical industry, it lends me to wonder, are you more looking to supplant that with obviously homeopathic and nutrients and amino acids and vitamins, or does it also become part of the wiring state that my solution is going to come by visiting the doctor's office? Are you having to fight both those things, both from a physiological, biochemical standpoint and also just a psychological one?
Well, if you noticed in my previous answer, I didn't talk about brain chemistry. There is no known test in the world for to identify a lack of brain chemistry of any brain chemical. If I would love that if that was the case. That has yet to be developed, and that's pretty serious because we've got some multi-billion, hundreds of billions of dollars of companies, and there's no known test for this. So that's a head scratcher. But when it comes to medications, my belief, personally, professionally, if it helps somebody for a short period of time, I want to use the analogy of crutches with an ankle, a broken ankle. Okay. If it helps somebody for a short period of time, that's great. That's wonderful. But even if a medication helps somebody with anxiety or depression for a short period of time, please get it. It is only a short temporary solution of the symptoms. And so you have to take it again tomorrow so that the underlying cause is still there. And I want to go after the underlying cause. And the underlying cause is a brain that is not functioning properly. And better yet, it can be changed.
I like that he's saying that it can be changed, because a lot of even what I've read, it's, yes, it can be changed, but not for everybody. And I also like how you're saying, really, it's not the medication, it's your lifestyle, it's what you eat, it's how you behave, it's how you sleep, it's everything else that goes into it. Because I myself go to a naturopathic doctor, and I'll have to agree, I felt 10 times better once I started going through that and that regimen and really starting watching what I eat. So, but unfortunately, a lot of people really buy into that narrative. So is it a psychological shift for them, or is it a belief shift? How do you get someone to really take that and shift in their way of thinking?
I think that's a personal journey. Okay. How did we get here, Connie? Welcome to marketing, and welcome to go back to the 80s. But also, I'll say from a society point of view, this is a fast food generation in society, and this is a cell phone society, and we're used to it quickly. So all I want to go see somebody, give me a pill, I'll pop it in, and that fixes me. And it doesn't work that way. And that right now culturally is more where we're wired. And what you've learned is actually you're more accountable and responsible to go shopping, create a meal of whole foods, and actually it's less expensive than you think. And go to the gym. And so, I mean, I'll use health and wellness. Everybody knows January, February, March. Go to the gym. Oh my God. I mean, it's hot.
Yes.
But go to the gym in August and September, and it's empty.
Right.
And so I would say to you, to overlay the two things is people are, yes, they are looking for the easy, quick fix a lot of the times, but we are seeing a movement where people are taking more and more responsibility for what they're drinking, eating, and their own health.
Nice. Well, Kevin, do you have any other questions? Because we're going to have to start to wrap up soon.
Okay, I'm going to throw one more at you, and it's here comes a big curveball. It's going to be Dwight Gooden without the cocaine, and it's going to go 12-6. I have no idea if you got that, but maybe somebody in the audience did. Um, do you find you spend more time with the nutrient chemistry part of this or the actual life coaching part of this from the standpoint of, because again, it's what I see as a continual problem, just the simplicity of happiness? I know that's, the foundation of anxiety would be the loss of that, but going from the standpoint of simplicity of happiness, which is something I've struggled with my entire life. I've never gone down the road of infusing my body or existence to either pretend I'm not alive and or to drug myself. But at the same time, I'm just really curious what that might be the case that you experience with all the people that you've seen, and just in terms of trying to achieve that based on where it seems a good percentage of our nation is mentally in the reverse.
And there's a couple steps to it. I wouldn't say one more than the other, but there's more of a science and also a little bit of an art as to when people are able to absorb and handle more coaching and life coaching and a greater awareness for where their life is and using positive psychology about their gifts and where they want to go. And when people first come to us to have that conversation the first week, they're not capable of processing that because the brain is in such an asymmetric state. So physiologically, it's helping to bring relief. So much like it's asking someone with a broken leg to start walking or running on it, first thing we got to do is heal the leg. And then we're able to help to teach them how to properly move forward. So that's what I mean by an integrative solution. And first we got to look there. Now we got to start talking about what it is you want. And so coaching's powerful. And great coaching believes that the individual has the solution in them. And great coaches, it's about asking deep, provocative questions and holding your coachee accountable to that. What is it you want in your life? I just did a class this morning on values. And on the back side of the sheet, we wrote down the self-destructive patterns and choices that they were, and behaviors that they were partaking in, and the two don't align. And yet they're vehement about trust and truth and honesty, and yet they've been lying to everybody. And so it's my job as a coach to help them go from this state of, talk about internal turmoil, to go from this state of dysfunction to a state of living a life that is pointed towards their values. Stephen Covey calls it the moral compass. But you've raised another question or another word called happiness. Yeah. And positive psychology is the study of happiness. But I like this definition. It's a sense of contribution. When I have a sense of contribution, when I cook a great meal for my family at Thanksgiving, I feel happy. I'm contributing to my family unit. When I do something at work, when I bring home a paycheck, I'm able to provide for my family, a sense of contribution brings a deep sense of happiness. And we often get confused about happiness being the new BMW. Well, the new BMW is going to get old. Now what? And so I would actually say and ask you when those moments are when you feel like you've contributed the most, whether it's to a show, to an audience, or to your family, or yourself, your own life. I believe we all feel a great sense of pride and happiness.
A really great question. So, Dave, what's next? Where do you go from here? What projects do you have in the coming future?
Well, what's next? I've got to continue to. I really am passionate about finishing my education, and, so that's really important to me. And also, Connie, shows like this with you and Kevin, it's been an absolute honor. We're looking forward to doing this more and helping people understand some of the steps that they can do, whether their family member or their loved one is in a real state of crisis, or whether they just believe that they have more in the tank themselves and aren't realizing their own potential. I'm going to suggest you turn to your brain and start thinking about brain healthy stuff. And there's a lot of resources that are available in the world right now that are starting to talk about this.
So where can our listeners find more about you?
We're at Emergo Recovery. Emergo is a Latin word. It means to emerge or to rise above. And I like that. I want to rise above, and I want to help people do that. And it's EMERGO recovery.com.
Great. Well, Dave, I want to thank you for being here. Dave Kenney, you're awesome. Love chatting with you. You're always welcome back to the show.
That's great. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Dave. A pleasure.
And Kevin, thank you for being here with us, Mr. Hollywood Redneck.
It's always very sexy, Connie. Always very sexy.
Always fabulous. Awesome to be here with you. And thanks to everyone else for being here. Love our tribe. I love that you're here. You are a family. You are members. Thank you for following us each and every week. I am Connie Pheiff, and I'm going to leave you with this very short thought for today, that it's okay to follow your heart, but make sure you take your brain with you. I'm Connie Pheiff, and until next time, keep the passion of life moving forward, because we are all unstoppable together.